take it out maybe.
Okay.
All right.
Here we are with Samuel Maoz, who is the first Israeli film director to win the Gold Lion at the Venice Film Festival for your new movie called Lebanon. Is that true?
Yes, and it's not new already. I mean,
It was last September
yeah.
that this happened, and now it's opening in August around the United States.
Yes.
The idea of Lebanon is basically a war movie set during the Israeli-Lebanon War in 1981?
82.
82.
Yeah.
And you were actually in that war.
Yes, I was a soldier on the second Lebanon War, on the first Lebanon War, sorry, on 82. I was a gunner in a tank. And yeah, it took me more than 20 years to deal with those issues and to tell my story.
So, is this your first film as a director?
This is my first feature film.
So, what were you doing for the last 20 years, Samuel?
Many other things. I mean, first I made a few, not short, but 50 minutes project, documentary projects, art projects, and I was a production designer in the cinema industry, if you can call it industry, in Israel. Worked in museums, made exhibitions.
So, how did you get into filmmaking?
I learned cinema.
Gradually, were you making shorts at home? Were you part of? Did you go to school?
Yes. I learned cinema on the Tel Aviv University on 88, but I started to deal with cinema just before 10 years.
For 10 years ago. And what were your subjects that you first started to do?
I made a dance film.
Were you a dancer as well?
No, it was a documentary art dance project about a very known Israeli dance company called the Batsheva Dance Company. And I made a documentary about the choreograph, about the group itself.
And was this shown in film festivals or just in Israel, or was it on television?
Yeah, it was on television. It was on here also in the cinematheques in New York, also in Berlin, in Paris, in London.
So when you came to write the story about Lebanon, did you always have that title in mind rather than calling your movie Tank? Because it's basically about 4 soldiers, and it's pretty much one of the hallmarks of the movie is that it's confined to the interior of this tank. Like Das Boot, the classic German film about submarines in World War II, was set all inside this submarine.
To tell you the truth, this was the first name, but then my distributors in Israel and then all over the world told me that women won't come to see a film called The Tank. So I decided to be more smart than right.
Yes.
And to change it to a global name. So that's the name story.
And what about the idea of this premise of telling, were you in a tank? Was this autobiographical in that sense when you participated? Were you a foot soldier?
No. I was a gunner in a tank. And I was there. Shmulik, the main character. Shmulik is the nickname of Samuel in Hebrew. So I didn't even change my name, but just Israeli guys can understand the connection. And for me, the making of Lebanon was so. Of course, first it was a need to unload, a need to expose the war as is, without all the heroic stuff and the rest of the cliches. But it was mainly a need to I don't know if to say forgive myself is the right expression, but maybe to find some understanding, because I have a responsibility. Now my responsibility was in a way inevitable, a part of my destiny. can see in the first war sequence of Lebanon that if you are pulling or not pulling the trigger, so it's the same, you are a kind of executor. But in the end there is so okay, it was a no way out situation, but still there is a huge difference between understanding that you didn't have a choice to the fact that you feel responsible, that you feel guilty. So yes, this is totally my true personal experience.
And when you went into the Israeli army and ended up in this war, this conflict, had you been drafted? Because I understand at the age of 18, isn't it, all Israeli men and women are required to do some service, military service?
You're asking if this was an obligation?
Yes.
Yes, it was even more than an obligation. I mean, mentally, in the beginning of the 80s, to go to the army, accept the fact that it was an obligation, it was something that you don't ask question about. It's like you are not asking, should I go to the kindergarten, should I go to school? So it was obvious that this is something that it's part of, it's one step in our, I miss this word, when you became mature.
Of our maturation.
Yeah, something like this.
So the other three characters.
And there is a big difference, between serving in the army to being in a war. This is totally something else. To serve in the army can be even nice, you feel like you are playing in the big boys' playground. You are shooting on bowls full of gasoline, and it seems like a beautiful fireworks show. So still there is a huge difference between. Nothing can prepare you to war. I mean, the army can prepare you to war in a way that you know how to use guns, how to active war machines, to be in a good shape. But mentally, nothing can prepare you to war.
Did war movies prepare you for war at all?
No.
Did seeing films about combat growing up give you an idea of what to expect? And did you find out, because The Hurt Locker just won the Academy Award as Best Picture.
But the Hurt Locker is a good war film, but mainly the most of the war films are not talking really about war. They are giving you a kind of entertainment in a way that there are heroes and sacrifice acts, and when the hero dies, even the blood on his face is a bit sexy. So the war film that I saw made me to think that I'm expecting to something, but when I was in a war, I realized that this was totally something else. But of course, there are a few masterpieces like Apocalypse Now, like The Deer Hunter, like Red Thin Line, and others, Oliver Stone Platoon, maybe, Stanley Kubrick.
The Stanley Kubrick movie about the young boys where Vincent D'Onofrio goes crazy.
Yes, because those films are talking about what's going on inside the soldier's soul, talking about the madness, the chaos of war. This is something global, that all the war sharing it.
And
All the war, sorry.
when this film opened, did you hear from your comrades in the tank? Did they see it and say, Samuel, you did it right, you got us correctly? Or did they want to sue you?
No, they didn't want to sue me. This is also, one of the cliches. I mean, people used to think that if you share a war with a few friends, a team, a crew, so you should be a very good friend for the rest of your life. But in the end, after the war, people try to repress the experience and to find themselves a normal life. And you don't really want, it's not personal, but you don't really want to meet your friends from hell